To try to get myself unstuck from the creative ditch I feel like I slid into, and to have more than just like a blank background to display my completed minis on, I'm going to try to make some terrain for a change. And in this video it's going to be some chain link fences. I started off cutting some MDF strips that were 1 inch by either 1 foot or 2 feet. I know I've said in the past that I really need a belt sander, but it's true. This next part would have been a lot easier, but instead I use a box cutter to taper the edges of the MDF strips so that they blend into whatever I'm placing them on a little bit better, which it's not really that difficult. It cuts pretty easily, but it's just time consuming. And with a sanding sponge, I smooth out those cuts. And then with a ruler, I draw out a straight line on the MDF strips so that the posts are more or less straight. And then I make a mark at every 3 inches for the posts. And for those posts, I'm going to use some wood skewers. I think I maybe got at Dollar Tree, maybe Walmart. And for the end posts, I'm going to use some slightly larger wood dowels. I use drill bits that more or less match the width of the skewers and drill every 3 inches that I marked for the posts. And I drill the end post as close to the edge as I can without, tearing out the end of it. And I use the smaller bit as like a pilot hole before I use the larger bit for the slightly larger wood dowels on the end. I throw down a strip of parchment paper just so I don't glue the fence to my table, and because I'm impatient, I'm just using super glue to glue the posts in. I start with the end posts and cut them at about 2 1/4 inches, and I just use a set of pliers to cut those, and then kind of squish them to re-round them. And I do the same for the inside posts with the skewers, but I cut those a skewer's width shorter so that the top rail fits inside of the outer posts instead of sits on top of them. The 2 foot lengths of fence are a little bit more complicated for the top rail because I have to use multiple sections. So I make sure 2 sections meet over the top of a post just so I think it looks better that way. It's a lot easier on the 1 foot lengths because you can just fit 1 skewer across and you don't have to worry about cutting multiple sections. That's what that looks like. And I thought I would make a gate for one of the 2 foot sections, so I left out the middlemost post, and then I use a rotary tool and cutoff wheel to very carefully cut into these larger dowels to make room for a hinge. And then I just cut the doors to length, just kind of eyeballing it. I didn't do any sort of specific measurements for this. And then I glued those together on top of parchment paper. Super glue and accelerant. To keep the doors from dragging onto the ground, I guess you would say, I just use a popsicle stick to prop them up and then glue the hinges in place. And then it's on to priming. And I use the good stuff, the 99-cent black spray paint from Walmart, and I just give those a good black prime. And it's also a good time to put any basing or ground cover onto these strips. I just used a mix of glue, sand, baking soda, and dark brown paint. Just slathered it all over that. For the fence posts, I start off with a gunmetal base coat. Just cover the whole thing. And then go in with a pearl white and emphasize the outer edges. Not so much the inner post, just the outer post and the top rail. So when I went to the craft store, I initially got this canvas mesh stuff, granny grating, whatever you want to call it, which is perfectly fine and serviceable for fence. But I found this stuff, this sculptor's mesh, which is actually metal and looks just like Chainlink. And it's conveniently 1 foot by 2 foot. So I can make it fit all the way across a 2 foot section without having to cut it into sections. So I just kind of mark the initial place I want to cut it. And I can just follow the pattern of the chain link without having to mark all the way across. And it cuts easily with just a regular pair of scissors. So I used gel super glue on the posts in an attempt to not glue my hands to everything with the liquid stuff. That didn't really work out, but it was a good idea on paper. So I just smear on some gel super glue and tack down the fence material and give it a nice little spritz with some super glue accelerator. And then I can just cut it to size and then wrap the excess around the end posts, and you don't really notice anything's wrong with it, so that's cool. And I do the same for the door. Just cut a little piece to length, hit it with some gel super glue, spread that around with the skewer, drop the sculptor's mesh on there, and then hit it with some accelerator. One change I'm probably going to make is to cut more closely around the ends of the fences so that I can butt two sections together without leaving a massive gap. But otherwise, that's a wrap on these fences. I'm going to try to work on some more terrain so that I can have like an actual environment to put completed miniatures in instead of just the white background turnaround shots I've been doing. Guess I'm trying to step up my game a little bit. And these fences are a step in the right direction. Plus I can hold back hordes of the undead with these, or whatever. Subscribe if you want. Those terrain things will be coming eventually. And leave a comment if you feel like it. It appeases the dark algorithm, I'm told. And German suplex the like button. Alright, I don't know what else to say, so I will bid you adieu. Bye.